A Secret Love. Dear, Introduction: The Quiet Life of Hidden Love. In the soft glow of the evening, the quiet hum of city life seeped into the spacious apartment that Taehyung and Jungkook had shared for the past 3 years. It was a sanctuary away from the prying eyes of the world that neither was ready to confront with the truth of their love. Despite the warmth that filled every corner of their home, the shadows of secrecy often loomed over their heads, a constant reminder of the delicate balance they maintained between their public personas and their private lives. Taehyung often found himself lost in thought, staring out the large windows that overlooked the city. The view was breathtaking, but it was nothing compared to the sight of Jungkook, who would occasionally catch Taehyung's gaze and respond with a knowing smile. It was in these small, intimate moments that Taehyung felt most at peace, despite the undercurrents of tension that lay just beneath the surface. Their relationship's beginning. Their relationship had begun in the most unexpected of ways. Jungkook had been a rising star, the golden boy of the music industry, while Taehyung was the enigmatic artist with a voice that could melt hearts. They had first met at an industry event, where Jungkook, captivated by Taehyung's charisma, had found himself drawn to the older singer like a moth to a flame. What started as innocent conversation quickly evolved into something deeper, a connection neither had anticipated but both had longed for. But with fame came scrutiny, and so they made a pact to keep their relationship a secret. What started as a simple agreement soon became a necessity, as their careers soared and the world's interest in their personal lives intensified. The pressure of living a double life took its toll on both, but the love they shared was a powerful force, strong enough to withstand the strain, at least for now. Building up desire. Why? As Taehyung stood in the dim light of their living room, he couldn't take his eyes off Jungkook. His lover had just stepped out of the shower, droplets of water still clinging to his toned body, which was now draped in nothing but a loose bathrobe. The sight stirred something deep within Taehyung, a familiar yet ever intense longing that had become both his greatest joy and most dangerous weakness. Jungkook, ever aware of Taehyung's gaze, moved with a deliberate slowness, letting the robe slide off his shoulders as he made his way toward the couch. The fabric fell to the floor, revealing the full splendor of his physique. Taehyung's breath hitched in his throat, his heart pounding with a mixture of anticipation and reverence. Jungkook was his, and in these private moments, the reality of their love felt almost surreal. Yeah, mysterious visitor. Their quiet life, however, was soon disrupted by an unexpected visitor. It was a crisp autumn day when the doorbell rang, echoing through the apartment. Taehyung, who was alone at the time, answered it with a casual air, not expecting the shock that awaited him on the other side. Standing at the door was a man from Jungkook's past, a figure Taehyung recognized from old photographs but had never met in person. The man's name was Jihoon, and the moment Taehyung saw him, he knew that this was no ordinary visit. Jihoon's presence sent ripples of unease through Taehyung. There was something about the way he smiled, something insincere, that set off alarm bells in Taehyung's mind. But he masked this discomfort with polite civility, inviting Jihoon inside and offering him a seat in the living room. "What brings you here?" Taehyung asked, keeping his tone light though he could feel the tension coiling in his chest. Jihoon's eyes flicked around the room, taking in the surroundings with an air of subtle superiority. "I was in the neighborhood," he replied smoothly, though his words carried a weight that Taehyung couldn't ignore. "Thought I'd drop by and catch up with an old friend." Taehyung's suspicion. When Jungkook returned home later that day, Taehyung couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled over him. He casually mentioned Jihoon's visit, watching closely for any reaction in Jungkook's expression. To his dismay, Jungkook's face tightened ever so slightly, a flicker of discomfort flashing in his eyes before he quickly masked it. "He just wanted to say hello," Jungkook said, though his voice lacked its usual confidence. "Nothing to worry about." But Taehyung couldn't let it go. The next few days were fraught with tension, as Taehyung's mind raced with questions. Who was Jihoon really? And why had his visits unsettled Jungkook so much? These questions gnawed at him, feeding a growing sense of insecurity. Unresolved past. One evening, unable to contain his curiosity any longer, Taehyung confronted Jungkook. They had just finished dinner, and as they sat together on the couch, Taehyung turned to Jungkook, his voice low and earnest. "Who is Jihoon to you?" Taehyung asked, his eyes searching Jungkook's face for answers. Jungkook hesitated, clearly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. "He's someone I used to know," he admitted finally. We had a thing a long time ago, but it's over now." Taehyung felt a pang of jealousy, but he pushed it aside, focusing on the more pressing concern. Then why does it feel like he's here for more than just a friendly visit? Jungkook sighed, running a hand through his hair. Because he is. Jihoon and I, we didn't end things on the best terms. He's not just here to catch up. He wants something from me, something I'm not willing to give. The true intentions. The tension between them continued to mount as Jihoon's true intentions became clearer. He began showing up unannounced, each visit filled with subtle threats and insinuations that left Taehyung feeling more and more much. Jihoon wanted something from Jungkook, and he was willing to play dirty to get it. Jungkook, meanwhile, became increasingly distant, his usual carefree demeanor replaced by a brooding silence that worried Taehyung. It was clear that the past was catching up to him, and Taehyung feared that their carefully constructed world was on the verge of collapsing. Taehyung's dilemma. Caught in a whirlwind of emotions, Taehyung found himself questioning everything: his relationship with Jungkook, his own self-worth, and the future they had envisioned together. He began to wonder if Jungkook truly loved him, or if he was merely a convenient distraction from a past that refused to stay buried. These doubts ate away at him, and despite his best efforts to push them aside, they began to manifest in subtle ways. He became more withdrawn, his usually vibrant personality dulled by the weight of his insecurities. Jungkook noticed the change, but he was too preoccupied with his own struggles to address it. Revelation and reconciliation. The breaking point came one evening when Taehyung discovered something that shattered the fragile trust between them. A letter hidden away in Jungkook's desk, written by Jihoon. The contents of the letter were cryptic, but the message was clear: Jihoon wanted Jungkook back, and he was willing to go to great lengths to make it happen. Devastated, Taehyung confronted Jungkook, his voice trembling with a mixture of anger and pain. "Why didn't you tell me about this?" he demanded, holding the letter up as evidence. Jungkook's face drained of color as he realized the gravity of the situation. "Taehyung, I didn't want to involve you in this mess," he said, his voice full of regret. "I thought I could handle it on my own." "But we're supposed to be a team," Taehyung replied, his voice cracking. "How can we face the world together if we can't even be honest with each other?" Jungkook reached out, taking Taehyung's hands in his. "You're right," he said softly. "I'm sorry, I should have told you everything from the start. But please believe me when I say that you're the only one I want. Jihoon is my past. You're my future." Taking a stand. With their relationship now on the line, Taehyung and Jungkook made the difficult decision to confront Jihoon once and for all. They knew that they could no longer allow him to manipulate them, and that it was time to put an end to his games. The confrontation took place in a secluded part of the city, far from the prying eyes of the public. Taehyung stood by Jungkook's side, his heart pounding in his chest as they faced Jihoon. The tension in the air was palpable, and for a moment it seemed as though things might spiral out of control. But Jungkook, fueled by his love for Taehyung, stood his ground. "This ends now, Jihoon," he said firmly. "You have no power over me anymore. Whatever we had is over. I've moved on, and you need to do the same." Jihoon sneered, but there was a hint of desperation in his eyes. "You think you can just walk away from me, after everything we've been through?" "Yes," Jungkook replied, his voice steady. "Because I've found something real, something worth fighting for. And I'm not going to let you take that away from me." It's the decision to come out. With Jihoon finally out of the picture, Taehyung and Jungkook were left to pick up the pieces of their relationship. They knew that they couldn't keep living in the shadows, that it was time to face the world and reveal the truth about their love. The decision to come out was not an easy one. They knew that it would be met with a mixture of reactions from support and acceptance to judgment and backlash. But they also knew that they couldn't keep hiding, that their love was worth the risk. The day of the announcement was a nerve-wracking one. They held a press conference, where they stood side by side, hands clasped together, as they told the world their truth. The room was filled with reporters, cameras flashing, as they spoke from the heart. "We've spent years hiding who we are," Taehyung said, his voice steady despite the nervousness he felt. "But we've realized that we can't live in fear anymore. We love each other, and we want the world to know." Jungkook squeezed Taehyung's hand, his own voice filled with emotion as he added, "We know that not everyone will understand or accept our relationship, but we hope that by being honest about who we are, we can inspire others to do the same." Yeah, it's a new chapter. With their relationship now public, Taehyung and Jungkook began to explore the possibility of starting a family. It was something they had talked about in the past, but had always seemed like a distant dream. Now, with the world finally aware of their love, they felt ready to take the next step. They began researching their options: surrogacy, adoption, and everything in between. It was a daunting process, filled with legal hurdles and emotional challenges, but they were determined to make it work. As they navigated the complexities of becoming fathers, they also continued to advocate for LGBTQ rights, using their platform to raise awareness and support for others in similar situations. Their love story had become a beacon of hope for many, and they were determined to use their influence for good. The final reflection. As they sat together one evening discussing the future, Taehyung and Jungkook couldn't help but reflect on the journey they had been through. It had been a long and difficult road, filled with challenges and heartache, but they had come out stronger on the other side. "We've been through so much," Taehyung said, his voice filled with a mixture of nostalgia and gratitude. "But I wouldn't change any of it because it brought us here." Jungkook smiled, leaning in to kiss Taehyung softly. "And no matter what the future holds, I know we can face it together." The story concludes with the couple looking forward to the next chapter of their lives, ready to face whatever challenges come their way, knowing that their love is strong enough to overcome anything.
And you will love again.